This is the Samsung Gear 2, and this is the Samsung Gear Fit. Let's take a look and see what makes them tick. The Gear 2, Gear 2 Neo, and Gear Fit are the latest generation of smartwatches from Samsung. They ditch Android in favor of Tizen this time around, but you won't know it just by looking, and frankly, it doesn't really matter. Nothing screams out Tizen, and things move along fine regardless. The Gear 2 and Gear 2 Neo are nearly identical, save for the fact that the Neo doesn't have a camera, something that most people won't mind not having on their smartwatch. The Gear Fit is more a fitness tracker than watch, but we'll get into that in a bit. The Gear 2 is slimmed down a bit from its predecessor and also has a slightly larger screen. It weighs in at 67 grams, 55 for the cameraless Neo, and is really just all around nicer. It looks better, feels better, and is overall way less clunky than the Galaxy Gear. It has plenty of subtle changes as well as some big ones. For starters, the camera, power button, and microphone are no longer in the band. That means not only does it help aesthetically, but you can also swap out the band, something you couldn't do on the Galaxy Gear. Now the camera sits on the watch face, and while it's still noticeable, it's much less so than before. The power button takes the opposite spot on the face, and in addition to looking cleaner, it's much easier to use. I found the band on the Gear 2 to be very comfortable, which is something that I hadn't expected. The Galaxy Gear irritated my wrist so much that I could only manage an hour or two before taking it off. The Gear 2 I can wear all day without any gripes. Again, changing the band is an option now as well, which is pretty awesome. Hardware-wise, the Gear 2 is sporting a 1.6-inch screen with a pixel resolution of 320 by 320. Inside, there's a 1 GHz dual-core processor, Bluetooth, 4 GB of storage, 512 MB of RAM, and a 300 mAh battery. Battery life was good for the most part, and I was able to stretch about 2 to 3 days from the Gear 2 with no issues. As far as the Gear Fit goes, you can obviously tell it's more fitness band than smartwatch. It's actually really comfortable to wear though, and it weighs in at just 27 grams. No frills as far as this guy goes. No camera, no phone calls. There's a curved 1.83-inch 432 by 128 Super AMOLED display on the Gear Fit, and inside is a 210 mAh battery. I squeaked out about 3 to 4 days on average, which is great for this little guy. The Fit is a bit awkward to use at times due to the screen, but overall it's a pretty good experience for a fitness tracker. As far as the software goes, both the Gear 2 and Gear Fit devices offer pretty much the same functionality. Actually, the Gear 2 and Neo do everything the Gear Fit does, while the Fit focuses more on the health and fitness aspects. What the Gear 2 allows you to do that the Fit doesn't is install third-party apps, take photos, obviously not on the Neo though, make and receive phone calls, and initiate text messages. Both have a heart rate sensor, which is really hit or miss, both get notifications from your phone, and both integrate nicely with things like S-Health. Perhaps the biggest downfall of these devices for me is the charging. As if the clunky cradle of the Galaxy Gear wasn't bad enough, now both the Gear 2, Gear 2 Neo, and Gear Fit have separate charging clips that connect to the devices, which are still powered by micro USB. I'm not a fan of having even more chargers to worry about as I amass more watches, and these little guys will easily get lost, and then you're basically SOL on charging your device until you get a replacement. So, still not the biggest fan. Of course, the devices also only work with Samsung phones, for now at least, so if you have another phone that you use daily, these are most likely not the watches for you. At this point, I'm not really sure I'm a huge fan of either device though. Even if I use the Samsung phone as my main phone, I'd still opt for another watch. I find that using the Gear software is still a bit clunky, and it takes a lot of tapping to get what you need. Things like raising your arm to see the time and turn the watch face on don't always work if they should. And the heart rate monitor is a nice feature as well, but that too is really hit or miss. So long story short, if you own a Samsung phone and simply have to have the latest and nicest smartwatch to go along with it, the Gear 2 is definitely a nice offering. But you may be better off holding out for what's to come down the road from other big names like Motorola or LG. But there you have it. This is the Samsung Gear 2 and Samsung Gear Fit.